In this video, I want to continue the summer approach we took with the beer icon. I want to show you how you can create this sun icon. As always, let me break it down for you. Basically, there are two kinds of shapes that are repeated. We got the ellipse right here and here. And of course, we got a bunch of repeated triangles that were actually created from rectangles. The colors used are shades of sunny yellow and blue sky, which I picked up from Flat UI Color Picker. Okay, so let's get started. And we'll start, of course, with preparing our working area. So I will duplicate the artboard. I will grab my artboard tool. I could always use the Shift-O shortcut. But before I start duplicating the artboard, I will make sure that Move Copy Artwork with Artboard is not selected. We only want to copy the artboard itself, not the artwork. So now we can clone an artboard, and cloning is just like with any other shape in Illustrator. We can simply select it with the artboard tool, hold down the Shift key and the Alt key to clone it to the right, just like so. There is one more thing I'd like to do here before I move on. I want to add guides to mark the center spot of my artboard. But I want them to be artboard dependent. So to drag a guide out, I want to have rulers active. And the easiest way to make them active is by pressing the Ctrl-R shortcut. And then, still with the artboard tool active, I will drag one vertical guide and put it roughly in the center. It doesn't have to be perfect. Quick note here, if you can't see your guides, well, that's because you have their visibility turned off. Just press the Control semicolon on your keyboard to toggle their visibility. Or you could always go to the View menu, Guides, Show or Hide Guides. Okay, now I'll drag a horizontal guide so it intersects with the vertical guide somewhere in the center. And okay, we are done with setting the artboard up. Let's move on to creating a new layer. So I will go to the Layers panel and Alt-click the New Layer icon down here so I can get a Layer Options dialog box like this one, where I will name my layer as the Sun. Okay, yeah, the sun. And simply click OK. I will also lock the original layer by clicking in the spot to left from the layer's name, which, as you can see, brings up this padlock icon, just so I don't mess the original artwork up accidentally. And I am ready to create my icon. Okay, so let's start with, I guess with the most obvious shape, which is the center circle. So I will grab the ellipse tool from the Tools panel, place it at the intersection of the guides, and Shift and Alt drag to create a perfect circle, just like so. Okay, let's now move on to the most difficult and a bit laborious part, but it's real fun, trust me. Trust me on that one. Remember when I told you at the beginning of the video that I would create the triangles from a rectangle? Well, let me show you what I meant. I'll grab the rectangle tool by pressing the M key on the keyboard. Again, very useful hotkey. And I will create a rectangle just like so. Let me zoom in a bit. Now I want to create two rectangles by using the Split to Grid command, and I will access it by going to the Object, Path, Split into Grid. And in here, I want to have two columns with no gutter. And just like that, I got two identical rectangles. I will now, using the Direct Selection tool, Shift drag around these two opposite anchor points. And I will remove them using this option in the Control panel, which has this pen tool with a minus sign next to it. And what it does, what it did was it removed those anchor points, giving us two triangles that we need. And of course, when I zoom in really close, you can see that we have a bit of a problem here with these corners overlapping each other. But if we go to the outline mode, and you can do it by pressing the Control Y shortcut on the keyboard, we can see that these guys align perfectly. So all we need to do is to, in the stroke panel, change the corner to round or bevel. Whichever you choose, it's totally up to you. I think I'm going to go with the round join. Now, some of you might wonder, why didn't he get a polygon tool and divide it using Pathfinder? Wouldn't that be easier? You almost got me. I didn't do it because we are working in a web profile document which has align to pixel grid option turned on. If I wanted to divide the triangle with the Pathfinder, Illustrator would try to align my shapes to pixel grid and the triangles wouldn't be even. So we can divide the rectangle into smaller triangles, but we need to have the align to pixel grid option deselected. But for a web project, that's not advisable, and I will explain that in my web design in Illustrator course. Now I'll reposition the triangles. I'll move them behind the circle. You can resize the triangles and the sun if you will. And finally, I'm ready to start transforming the triangles. What I want to do is to rotate and copy them at the same time. So I will select the triangles, activate the rotate tool by pressing the R key on the keyboard, and I will alt-click at the intersection of the guides. This brings up the rotate tool dialog box. And again, those of you guys who have seen my Design Logos Learn Illustrator course are familiar with the technique I'm about to use. All others will go see my course. Briefly speaking, I want to rotate the triangles and copy them at the same time. And I want to do it by the right angle. So I will simply type 360 and divide it by 20. I did that because there is 360 degrees in a circle and we want 20 copies. So Illustrator counted the right angle for us. What I want to do now is to click copy, not OK, to, get a copy of the triangles rotated by 20 degrees. All that's left is to duplicate the last transformation, which was of course copying and rotating at the same time. So I will use the ever so handy Ctrl D shortcut to complete the last transformation. And I will do it 18 times in total, because we won't have 20 copies in total. And just like that, we got the basic shape of the sun complete.